Welcome to our first online side-by-side project. Today we are using a mixed media project to make a collage of flowers using canvas, Mod Podge, tissue paper, watercolors, and watercolor paper. So this will be a several step video. So we'll start with the first one where you're going to make your own Mod Podge, and you're going to use the glue and pour that into the bowl that I sent home with you. And once you've emptied that, it'll be 3 parts glue to 1 part water. You're going to mix that well, and we will then apply that over the canvas. So emptying all the glue in here, and then you're going to fill this bottle 1/3 with water. And it doesn't have to be exact, but pretty close to a 3-to-1 ratio. I can't really see on the outside how full it is, but I'm just looking on the inside, and I'm going to shake this up really well. Emptying that into the bowl as well. And you'll want to work on the newspaper that I sent home in your packet so that everything's clean up, easy for cleanup. So this is my first time making homemade Mod Podge, but I've read that it works really well. So I'm going to take one of these little knives. You should have one of these as well. It's a blending knife. Stirring that glue in the water really well in the roll. And then we're going to use this to apply to our canvas as well. Okay, so it's pretty thick, like a paste. Just a little bit thinner than your normal glue. It should allow for a little bit faster drying time. And we'll be doing this in several steps. So I think each step will take about 10 minutes if you want to kind of time according to, what you have available that day when you can work. But you do need to allow for drying time. So I'm just kind of pouring this on the canvas, not very much, and now I'm applying a thin layer across the canvas with this blending knife. And we are using tissue paper, so you won't need a whole lot since your tissue paper is thin. Getting a nice consistent layer across the canvas. And so I think I poured maybe about 1/8 of the total Mod Podge that I had available on the canvas, and applying that thin layer. All right, now we'll take the tissue paper. I've chosen some background colors already, and you want to look at the width of your paper. So I'm actually going to turn it vertical because that fits pretty nicely across canvas. And I'm going to tear strips. I'm going to go for kind of like the green at the bottom here. And if you want a layer, like you can actually fold along the outside of your canvas, wrapping it around if you want, so that you have a wrapped border. And you may need to apply just a little bit. You don't want any dripping really, just a little bit of Mod Podge to wrap around. And you kind of want to go for a textured look here as well, just to add a little texture and variety to your canvas. So this is washable, so I'm just using my fingertip now to apply on these corners. And then I will tear the next piece. I'm going to overlap a little bit. And I kind of like the torn edge. So on the flat edge here, I'm going back and I'm tearing. And for the little scraps, I'm actually going to set those to the side, and I use those later in my canvas. So you can see where it's overlapped, it's a little bit darker, and I kind of like the variation in color there as well. And I'm just going to slowly lift underneath that layered area, applying some Mod Podge under that as well. And then I will move on to the blue at the top. I'm going to go ahead and tear a few strips now for overlapping. And I'm also going to go ahead and apply with my fingertip just a little bit on the edge here. Moving around to the other side, applying on that edge as well. And then to the top edge. And I'm okay with the blue and the green overlapping. I just really like to add different variations, textures, colors, wherever I can. That is the beauty of mixed media, is creating a texture for your piece. All right, so now I'm going to apply Mod Podge on this layer here and overlapping the blues. So you can kind of see different overlaps that we have. Then I will do a thin layer, a very thin layer of Mod Podge on top. Along the sides. And then letting this dry for at least 30 minutes and possibly even an hour. If you want to come back the next day or a couple hours later, that's fine as well. So I'll be checking on this in 30 minutes and giving you an update on how dry it is and the next steps, and I'll see you soon. All right, while the background is drying, I'm going to go ahead and use the watercolor paper to cut petal shapes for the flowers that we'll use in the collage on the watercolor paper. And I went ahead and cut one out, and then I traced it, and I think I'll use about 7 petals for each flower, and I'm going to do about 21 petals all together so that I'll have 3 flowers to work with. So I'm just tracing the shape on the watercolor paper. And then I will paint with the watercolors before cutting out the shapes. Giving it time to dry while I'm cutting them out. And then we'll use the glue mixture that we made to put these together. Now I did go ahead and cut a slit in this flower, about 1 inch, or this petal here, and we're going to overlap so that we have a three-dimensional shape for our flower. And you'll see this all come together as we paint, cut, and glue these and put them together. So let's see, I have about 21 here. I'm going to go ahead and use the cup of water that I have available. And going with starting with a red, kind of brightening up the palette here. And I'll probably brush down the middle and kind of going out to the sides, lightening up that color as we get out to the edge, adding water to just create that depth and dimension with each petal. And you do also have markers available if you wanted to go in and add some fine lines with a marker. Adding a little definition to your petal, you can do that as well. Right now, I'm going to stick with the watercolor paint, and you can kind of see that definition that I have there. I will be trimming this out, eliminating that pencil line so that that will not be on the outer edge of the flower. Alright, so I will continue painting these, and you could push pause while you're working on your petals as well. I will go with red, orange, yellow for my flowers, adding those colors and creating just a little bit of variety. And I'll see you back soon when we start trimming and putting these flowers together. Alright, so you can see on this one I started to add a little more definition to each little petal for the flower. And I started on these petals, just kind of shading, and now I'll go back in with my brush. Because we're trimming around that line that will not be in the final piece that we cut out, I did not have to stay within the lines. Now I'm adding those details. You can see here, just kind of adding the little veins in each little petal, adding contrast to the color. And that's something you can do after shading the entire petal. You can go back in and add those details as you're working. And I'm going to overlap some orange with the red and the yellow, just to give a little depth. And I'll go back through and continue to finish these, and then I'll show you the process of trimming and putting those together. Okay, so I have 7 of the petals cut out here, and I'm going to go ahead and make that cut about 1 inch up each petal here. Putting one of these flowers together. If at any time you need to push pause and catch up along the way, you can. Feel free to take your time. I just kind of go a little bit quickly so that I'm not taking up too much of your time here on the video. So I'm going to dip that little base, the bottom of the leaf, into the glue mixture that we made. And I'm just crossing that over, squeezing it together, giving it a little bit of a three-dimensional shape here. I'll set that to the side and go ahead and do that with each piece. Not very much glue, just a little bit, enough to get it to stick. And if I have any left over, I can just use it for my fingertip for the next one. Okay, so now I will take all of these pieces here and I will have 4 on the bottom, putting those together, dipping into the mixture. Here's the base of the flower. Just kind of setting it there for a minute. And then adding one more layer on top, overlapping these. And this glue doesn't dry right away, so you can kind of move these petals around, getting this flower to look how you want it to look before attaching it to the canvas. So then I'll go one more time, dipping the base of this flower. I'll actually apply it with my knife here just to keep a little bit more neat. Putting glue here. And then attaching it to your canvas. Once this dries, I can hold it up so that you can see it, the three-dimensional shape. I'm going to let it sit here for a good 30 minutes to an hour to dry. And I'm rearranging this flower on the canvas as I'm working just to get the exact shape that I want and the overlap of the petals. And I'm noticing that I might need a little bit more glue under one area, so I'm going to take that palette knife. This is one area where you want to use a lot of glue so this stays and sticks well. Alright, so that looks pretty good there. And I'm going to let that dry for a good hour. And I'll go back and add several of these flowers, kind of filling in till I have a final piece. Okay, so here's the finished canvas. This is our mixed media project with watercolor flowers, and we have that tissue paper background with the overlap showing different textures and colors. I hope you enjoy this project. It's a really fun one and it's a great finished piece. So enjoy.